going on, everyone? Anthony here. I wanted to go over probably the best deck in Legions of Will if you're trying to at least stick to some sort of like theme or flavor. I like to have like some flavor and theme in the decks that I build. You can definitely build some pretty crazy decks, but as far as taking like an existing tribe and then upgrading it from one of the pre-constructed decks, or taking one of like the more popular tribes, your options are going to be angels, demons, cats, and Bitarians. There's a few other tribes out there, but those are the most established tribes in the game. I have each of those built, I've upgraded them, but this deck happens to just win more often than not. It's this is a demon deck. It is a little aggro, a little aggressive, and so you really do want to try to win as early as possible, especially if you're going up against angels, which happens to be a little bit more reactive. Angels works really well with taking the momentum that demons have and then turning it against them. So you being aggressive with the demon deck, and then your opponent actually countering that, destroying all of your demons, which could help you out, helping fill up your graveyard. But it just, if you can't keep up with that, dropping demons, dropping your legions, your army, then you're going to have a hard time winning with this. But luckily, there's also a bunch of other cards in here that if you do, you know, because with like aggressive style decks in those games, your units, your creatures are going to be the most important aspect of it. That's why they're like aggro decks. But we have here an aggro deck that benefits from things going into the graveyard, so that's kind of the only way to deal with them. Yet we do have some cards in here, some legendaries that will benefit from that. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we have here. So in Legions of Will, if you don't already know how to play, go check out the how to play video. There's a few of them on this channel, and then there's some others out there on other creators' channels. So definitely go support those content creators and check out these videos. But in the game, you're going to start with 3 bases depending on the format you're playing. One of those would be face up, or otherwise you're playing with all 3 bases face up. But for our bases, we have Karaka, 3 defense, 3 capacity, 3 resource. So this is how much damage needed to destroy it. This is how many permanents can be attached to it. Permanents being units, upgrades, and traps. And then this is how much resource it generates at the start of each of your turns. This is a 4 to flip. So we have Karaka. We have Demon Lair. Demons you play cost 1 less to play. 4 defense, 4 capacity, 2 resource. Costs 6 to flip. And then the best base to start with, if you're playing the format where you have to start with 1 base, Cerberal's Throne. 5 defense, only 1 capacity, which is fine. You get a blocker, you get a pretty high defense, plus you get a pretty high resource to kind of help you get started early on in the game. This also counters Demonic Temptress, which if your opponents are playing her, she's a real early win blitz type of card who can destroy. She has 4 power, so I mean most bases are averaging 4 or less defense, and most units are going to have less than 4 power, which means she can't be blocked by them and just win early on. So this is great as a response to Demonic Temptress, kind of like ruins that whole strategy. For our upgrades, we have Demon Gate. It adds 3 defense, 1 capacity, so really it pays for itself, and then 1 resource at the start of each of your turns. Only costs 4, so you can get this out on turn 1. Another really good card if you want to, like, even if you have Karaka, or maybe not Karaka, but maybe if you have Karaka and a way to generate resource, basically, you can drop this and then boost up your defense, and that's another way to avoid blitz-style aggressive decks. Cerberal's Monument also costs 4. A lot of upgrades do cost 4. A lot of upgrades can be played on the first turn. This only increases your capacity by 2 since it pays for itself, so 3 total. Whenever a unit attacks this base, it gains -1 power until end of turn. Another great way to slow down aggressive decks. So it's kind of interesting that we have those effects in an aggressive deck. Cerberal's Summoning is a trap. All traps cost 2 to play face down. This one, so when a base is being attacked, targeted, or destroyed, you can activate the trap. So there's other cards that allow you to activate traps at any time. and in certain other instances. But here you would pay 3 to activate it, sacrifice unit control, and search your deck for a unit, put it into a base you control, then shuffle your deck. So really not a bad card, especially if your base is being destroyed, you have another one open, then you can at least sacrifice the unit that's going to be destroyed and you're sent to the graveyard technically anyways, and then get another unit out in another base, which is a good counter to then swing on your opponent who might be wide open at that point. So Twilight Blossom, 0 cost action. It's a legendary action, so you can only run 1 of these in a deck, and you gain 3 resource. So it's pretty good. It's not broken. It's definitely kind of like a nice like dopamine hit when you see it, because then you just know, oh cool, I get to thin out my deck a card, draw a card, and then gain 3 resource to give myself a slight advantage. Later, mid to late game, it doesn't really do much, but early on in the game, it definitely lets you get an advantage. We have Raise the Dead, which it has Redeem. It's an action, so we can pay 0 to just ditch it and then draw a card in turn. But we could also bring a unit back from a graveyard. We'd have to pay the resource cost of that unit and return it to any base. We have 4 of those in here. That'll help with the units we're destroying on our opponent's side of things, and then any units of ours that they're destroying or that we're sacrificing or anything like that. Deluge is limited to 1. It is an action. Target base produces 0 resource this turn. It's a good way to slow down our opponents. So even though this deck does play more aggressively, there are a lot of, counters to aggressive decks at the same time, which is pretty interesting. Life or Death, you get to flip a coin for 2. If you win the flip, destroy target unit. So one of the cheapest ways to destroy units, but it's a little bit of a gamble. So we just have 2 of those in here. Serbal's Curse is a nice sort of board wipey type card. You get to choose a unit an opponent controls and then destroy each other unit stationed in that unit's base. So if they have Kashka and a couple other cards, then we get to, if we really want to destroy Kashka, we can target Executioner. This card doesn't really matter, and then these cards would then be destroyed as a response, leaving the Executioner there. So we have 1 copy of that. And then that's kind of it. Then this is an aggressive deck, so we get more into our units. Imp for free is a thing you might hear playing against this deck, because if we have Demon Layer out, demons cost 1 less to play. Demon Imp costs 1. It's a pretty good aggro card. It only has 3 will, which is pretty easy to hit. Basically, you have to roll a d12, and if you get the same or higher than that number, then that unit can then attack. It has the will to attack. It only does 1 damage, but it's a good blocker, and we have 4 of those. Imp for free, Imp for free, Imp for free. You can play Fiendish Defender for free, potentially. It does only cost 1. It is a really strong common. This is part of Journey into the Abyss. It's part of a sort of like cycle of other cards similar. Fiendish Defender is a demon. You get to sacrifice it. Target base gains defense equal to this unit's power until end of turn, which is 3. There's ways to buff up your tribes and demons, so this could be a really powerful card with something like Obelisk of Potentia. We only have 2 of these because it's a better defender, pretty high will, not something we really want to attack with in an aggro deck. We have Demonic Invocator from Journey into the Abyss, 3, 6 will, 3 power, rest it, which would be to tap it, and then demon cards you play cost 1 less to station in this base until end of turn. So Imp for free, or reduce the cost of cards like Malam. Malam's best demon for a demon tribal deck build. It's a 4/3 for 4. You can get it down real early, and whenever a demon you control deals damage or is destroyed, you gain 1 resource. Demons have trouble gaining resource. Vitarians are probably the best in generating resource. And then other, tribes are pretty decent, average at it. Angels are actually pretty decent at generating resource too, in an interesting way, but demons, not so much. Unless you have Malam. So Malam's a very unique and powerful card for that reason specifically. It's like a staple for that reason. Skinwalker is a demon, so it could cost 1 less. We could play it for 3. Enters as a battlefield. Enters the battlefield as a copy of any other unit on the battlefield. So we have 2 of those. We can copy Malam, or we can copy an opponent's unit. Demonic Temptress can be blocked by units with power 4 or less. We got 4 copies of her. We got the borderless version, and then we have the anniversary edition of her. Asdamaya is similar. Asdamaya costs 5, is 5 power instead of 4, 7 will instead of 4, so a little bit more difficult to attack, but more powerful. And whenever Asdamaya attacks, target unit you control can't be blocked. So that could be Asdamaya, and that could be something else like something that has 9 power. So we do have 2 copies of that, and we have Darkal, the Demon Beast. Whenever this unit attacks, remove target card in a graveyard from the game. This unit gains +1 power for each card removed this way. So it's a 6/6 for 6, not that bad, and it just gets more powerful as it attacks. So that's pretty good. Magikai Eliminator, which is the there's a couple different Magikais in the game. This is the better one. Whenever this unit blocks, you may destroy target unit unless its controller pays 4. So a little bit of anti-aggressive strategies in this aggro deck. We have the Alt Art of Serval the Chaos from Journey into the Abyss. This is the second version of Serval. Whenever this unit attacks, expel, which is to exile or remove from the game. Expel target non-base permanent. You lose resource equal to its cost. So just get it out of there. It is a legendary, 6 will, 9 power. Another alt art for Zervidium, costs 7 with 8 will, 8 power. When this unit is destroyed, all players shuffle units they control into their owner's deck. Each player's resource becomes 0. So nice, like, reset the game. If you're really not getting anywhere, you're trying to play aggressively, but you're just going up against a wall, it's a good way to kind of like start all over and then draw into your demons, which are pretty low to the ground, and then maybe give it a second chance. I know people will get really frustrated playing up against Zervidium, so it's a really nice card to have in the pocket. Magarok, whenever this unit attacks, you may destroy target unit with power 4 or less. Average will, it's 6 will out of 12. It does cost 8 to drop, but it also has 8 power. All you have to do is attack with it, and you're destroying a unit with power 4 or less on attack. Sin the Fallen is a really good defender in for this deck. It is 9 will. It's kind of hard to attack with. It is definitely meant more for being a defender. If you do need to attack with it, whenever it does attack, you sacrifice a unit. There could be some synergy with that. Not specifically in this deck. We have it in here as a blocker. Whenever this unit blocks, target player sacrifices a unit. We have Zephyros, another legendary demon. Costs 9, 6 will, 6 power. Whenever this unit attacks, you may remove target card in a graveyard from the game. You may play cards that have been removed from the game with this unit. So it's kind of like Raise the Dead, except it's attached to a body. And we get to kind of just like hoard a bunch of those cards. So this would also say you may expel target card, and that's about it. Whenever this unit attacks, you may expel target card. Then finally we have our last 2 cards: Lilith, Purge Bearer, 9, 6 will, 9 power. Whenever this unit enters a base, which could be when you play it for the first time, you may gain control of target unit an opponent controls with will 6 or less. That could be Zephyros. It won't be Sin. It could be Magarok. It could be Serval. It could be a lot of cards. Will 6 or less is pretty common. If you do reset that unit, so you just gain control of it, put it in a base that has capacity, and then you can just use her to move on your next turn. You could just move her to another base. So you play her, gain control of something, and then on your next turn, you could move her over to gain control of something, and then move her over. So pretty crazy card right there. Finally, we have the Chaos Ascension Alt Art version of Lilith, the original Lilith legendary demon. Same stats, 9 cost, 6 will, 9 power. Whenever Lilith is blocked, gain control of the blocking unit, sacrifice that unit at the end of your next turn. So a more aggressive version of Lilith Purge Bearer. You do want to attack with her, but you also get to eliminate that card instead of just gaining control of it. And you could also, do whatever else you want with it. Attack with it, keep it as a chump blocker. But yeah, that is the demon deck. This is one of my favorite cards to play. I usually play angels versus demons because they're just so refined. I'll also play with the cats as well. So I'll probably start doing some more gameplay videos. You could see more of that on the channel, how to play. And yeah, just if you have any questions, hop in the Discord and I'd be happy to help you. Thanks for watching. Peace.